So welcome everyone to the social lab, which isn't lab, right? Like it's like beakers and stuff. But my name's Travis. I head up earned for iProspect, which basically just means that I have all social. So organic content, all the paid components, as well as video falls under me for the country.
And I'm Brittany, and I'm the supervisor of paid social, so oversee the social media that we do within our New York office. So we wanted to start today by talking a little bit about our approach to social, because we think that that's what's really given us an edge and given us the ability to see the success that we've seen with our clients in this space. So we see social not within a silo, but rather as just one piece of your larger and more broad communication strategy. And we do that in a way that helps us focus on specific business outcomes. So when we begin our conversations with our clients, we start, of course, by asking what the business challenge is or what the specific business objective is. And then we ask what's being done in the other channels in order to meet that challenge or meet that objective. And not just the channels that we operate in or the ones that we could be potentially managing. So of course, we're going to ask about search and SEO and display and affiliates, so on and so forth. But we're also going to ask what you're doing through more traditional channels like TV or print, or even what you're doing with out of home. So seeing what you're doing and then seeing how social can be an active participant in that conversation, and how social specifically can be used to meet those business objectives, but also how social can help the other channels work harder and amplify them and get a lot more out of them. And because we operate in this way and approach social this way, we're able not just to be able to track social KPIs, but how that makes sense for these larger business objectives. So anything from brand awareness, engagement, favorability, and brand recall down to sales and revenue.
So, I think obviously we've been known for search for a long time, and we've been doing a really good job at it for a long time as well, right? I think that we're taking social in a very similar lens where we're thinking about how our foundational success is going to be based on the technology partners that we have. So same as search as Kenshu and Marin, we're thinking about this for social as well. So every quarter we do an audit of all the SPMDs in the space. The last 3 quarters, social code has really come out on top, and they're really kind of killing it for us across the board. So there's 2 things that we really love about them. You think about DR, right? And as we're starting to utilize social to actually drive revenue, we're able to kind of take something like 5 different images, 5 different pieces of copy, tons of different segments and targets, 40,000 variations we're able to create within 1 click, right? And then within about an hour, we're able to get that down to the top performing 100, maybe 50 of those variations to really make the ones most efficient. Also, as we start to think about Facebook, Facebook is somewhat of a pay-to-play space, as I'm looking at my Facebook partner over here. Because it's almost like it's not a good thing, right? But like it's thinking about like how do we think about content first and foremost to really protect the consumer experience. They have a tool called Message Optics, which basically allows you to know in real time when your content is performing at a certain virality threshold, that Facebook is basically letting you know that if you kick in boosted media at that particular moment, you're going to be rewarded, right? So your costs are going to go down, your reach is going to go up, because Facebook sees it as a sense like people want to see this content, so we're going to make it easier for people to see that content by giving you a lower cost. I have Macy's under my umbrella as well, and I was just looking at a report that we did for them. A post yesterday, we paid, by using this tool, we paid for about $22 million. 22 million, no, right? 22 million impressions. But by utilizing this tool in a really smart way, we gained 27 million additional earned impressions, right? So by creating this and doing this smartly, we're seeing great results. And what becomes really powerful is how do we take all of this data, all of this information around content that we're gathering, and then pass that back to the brand, pass that back to the creative agency. So letting them know what content is performing really, really well around what particular segments, and it helps them in their process become more efficient with content creation. Which leads to kind of like, this is the little ecosphere of social, which I would love just everyone to do, but usually most of our clients are kind of looking at us for paid social, which is great. We're good at that, and we love doing it. A lot of people don't realize that we can kind of do all of this. So we can do content creation, we can do robust analytics, we can also do community management. But just because we can do it doesn't mean we have to be doing it, right? So a lot of our brands, the brands will be doing community management, the creative agency will be doing that. So literally insert their logos here. It's more about like how we're all collectively working together, right, to kind of fuel this beast that is social.
And then going back to that idea of social being just one piece of your communication strategy, we talked a bit about how we can use social to amplify what you're doing in these other channels. So what does that look like? One simple example would be thinking about display or thinking about print media. So you're partnering with these publishers because you're saying they are on brand, they have a target demographic that matches our target audience, this partnership makes sense. But because of this nonlinear consumer journey and the importance of multiple touch points, we're able to target people on Facebook and Twitter who interact with those publishers on those platforms. So the key word there is interact. It's not someone who liked a page for that publisher 3 years ago when that publisher did a fan acquisition buy. It's just the idea that when these publishers today, within the past 30 days, so on and so forth, are sharing their content, there are users who are interacting with that content. So we can target those people and generate those multiple touch points. Another example goes with the idea of social TV, and this is something that's been really popular lately that a lot of people are talking about, because TV is no longer just TV. People don't just watch TV. They have their mobile device, they have their smartphone, they have their tablet, and they're interacting on social while they're watching TV. So it leverages the fact that people are doing this, and you can now on Twitter utilize TV conversation targeting or TV ad targeting and target people on Twitter in real time who are tweeting about these shows. So it allows you to really amplify a commercial that you're running in broadcast, or even just target people who are watching a show that matches the demographic of your target audience. So for a consumer electronics brand, we did that, and we used it as part of our event strategy. So in addition to our always-on strategy, when we thought about events and real-time marketing, we also thought about right-time marketing, and the idea that real-time doesn't just mean during the event itself, it's also the pre and the post. And those two phases are often overlooked when people think about real-time. They tend to focus only on the event, and they're really missing the opportunity to capitalize on the pre-event and the post-event. And when we approached it in that way, where we focused on all three, we saw a lot more engagement, we saw better performance across the board, and we were able to really generate many more multiple touch points that we talked about before. So when we compared it to the industry average engagement rate for their vertical, we saw an 88% greater engagement rate before the event, 300% greater during the event, and 384% greater after. So had we neglected to do the pre and the post, we would have missed out on that, particularly that post-event phase.
And I'll fly through the rest of these, but this is just kind of thinking about the way that we think about social in an integrated manner. So this is one of our retail clients. So whenever we started working with them, they had their brand social budget over here and their performance social budget over here. We weren't allowed to combine them. There were very different KPIs. There were different groups within the organization. What we did is we kind of broke down those silos and kind of combined those two budgets. So we weren't getting incremental funds. We were just actually spending their money more wisely and getting better results. So basically, there might be a huge PR crisis, right, that was happening with the brand. What we were able to do is pull those levers appropriately, so then we were pushing up the brand spend and pushing down like the e-com spend. So when we have that fluidity with budget around brand and performance, they just work better overall. I won't go through the results, but they're good. You can read them. This is one of our department stores. So basically, this is just thinking about how social becomes the backbone of everything that we're doing from an integrated manner, right? So we have all these display campaigns going on. We have all of this radio going on. We have broadcasts going on. We have whatever it is, right? How does social underpin all of that? So we think about how it's organically amplified via social, but then also it looks the same, it feels the same, it's the same message across every single media channel that you're doing. With them, we're actually doing in-store measurement based upon social impressions and engagement, as well as e-com. You can see how good it was. And then this is kind of thinking about how do we utilize search data that we have previously and currently to start to power social, usually via custom audiences. I won't go into the tactics. I'm going to be sending out a white paper on that in the next couple of days to everyone. But you can see, again, great results. So this is just more of like, social isn't just about like boosting media. It's like, it can be very complicated and complex. And this is like just kind of how we think about it in really different ways.
And one of the things that we're seeing time and time again is that stronger content is performing better, but that's a no-brainer, right? That's pretty obvious. Have you guys talked to Scott and Jack yet today? Okay, so consider this a coming attraction. I know, we must be before them every single time. consider this a coming attraction. They're going to go into this in some more detail. But the main takeaway here is that everyone knows that content should be fresh and that content needs to be timely. But the idea of personalization that they were talking about yesterday on that panel, and how we know so much about the people that we're targeting and we're not really taking advantage of that. So when we take our target audience and we break it into segments and we create content specifically for them based on some, not all, of the information that we know about them, it resonates more and it performs better. So when the content gets more engagements, it gets rewarded. So it's served more impressions. So when that happens, we're getting a lower cost per impression and a lower cost per engagement. And that's what you see here.
I'll again quickly go through this. It's almost like our brag sheet, right? Like we have some really awesome relationships with these guys globally. So, you think about Facebook, we're gonna be, pioneering the whole idea of search-powered social with Facebook. We've been really kind of utilizing website custom audiences in a really robust way. It's performing awesomely. Within Pinterest, we've been actually working with them over the past 6 months to actually help build out their promoted pins unit. We're gonna be rolling that out next month, and we're gonna be an alpha partner of theirs. Within Instagram, same thing. We were part of the alpha last fall, and then we've been working with them to kind of think about what are the data points that we need to get back post-campaign analysis for us to do this again, right? So we've been working with them on that. We're getting that now. So we're gonna start to go into the beta in a couple months with them. With YouTube, we have access to their brand labs, which is basically we can kind of take one of our brands into their brand labs for an entire day, and they kind of help you rethink what your video content looks like, right? So from an organic standpoint, from a media standpoint, like what should your message as a brand be around video content, not even just on YouTube, but as video and online video as a whole. Within Tumblr, we're really utilizing our partnership with Yahoo to think about how do we use Yahoo from a robust measurement and targeting standpoint, but utilize Tumblr as the content point that we're actually kind of pushing this out. So it's really content first, but we're actually able to really get very targeted individuals based upon the Tumblr profile. And then within Twitter, we're actually doing some really cool stuff with them this summer when we're gonna start thinking about retargeting. So literally we're gonna be able to retarget someone based upon an individual product. It's gonna come into your Twitter feed, and then you can literally add to cart from feed. So it's kind of thinking about how Twitter can start to become a much bigger player in like a revenue driver, right? Because we haven't been able to track it based upon they're not accepting third-party tags right now. This is just kind of, there's a lot of social out there. You should not be doing all of this. And this is like, well, we can help you kind of guide through this. If you're AARP, you probably should not be on Snapchat kind of thing, right? So it's like, there are certain platforms that you should be on, and there are certain platforms you absolutely have no right to play in. So it's just kind of being smart about where you are and what you're doing. And then this is your homework. So if you don't take anything else from this session, take this. When you go home, if you have any sort of e-com site or just a website as a whole, you should have the website custom audience pixel on it from Facebook. It doesn't even have to be about driving revenue. It can kind of think about getting efficient signups for emails or whatever it is, right? Like this becomes really powerful. What Brittany was talking about with Twitter TV, huge. We're seeing great results. And like, how does Twitter make our broadcast buys work even harder? And then we didn't really get into it, but third-party data partnerships. So via our partners at Axiom and Datalogix, we're actually able to start to measure in-store sales lift or omni-channel sales lift really, based upon social impressions and social engagement. You can also utilize these guys from a targeting standpoint so that they can build out specific custom audiences based upon very specific types of buyers that you want. And that's it. I think we have a couple minutes to spare. Questions?
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, this is how you wrap things up. You have 5 minutes before your next lab begins. Find your regular and get moving.
Yeah.
Have you guys done any like A/B testing with something like Facebook? Just because, like, is there like in terms of lift from the ads on Facebook if users are spending so much time there?
What do you?
Like in terms of, is it driving true? Like, would there have been a conversion anyway? Just because you're kind of
Gotcha. Yeah. No, we are. So we're doing a lot of kind of dark posts, right? And kind of thinking about how we target those to different individuals, whether it be a known customer or an unknown customer, and also kind of parsing that out with search to see exactly to your point, like, would this have been a sale anyway? So yeah, there's a lot of A/B testing that's going on as a whole.